Kohalo, Yahweh, Basham, Yahushai, Basham, or Kakadash. Double honors to the Elder Apostles of Great Millstone, as well as honor to the men under the Elder Apostles of Great Millstone. Shalom to the elect and those who hope to be of that number. In my previous video, I showed this video but never played it. Showed Crown Anti-Pharmacia be prosecuted to take legal action against someone or an organization, in this case someone, because they're going to be prosecuting people who don't want to take this pharmacia. And it was a video from Good Morning Britain. I left the link to this video in the description box of my previous video. The previous video was titled something along the lines of persecution and prosecution. So okay, prosecution and persecution will come, so don't get weak. We can't get weak at prosecution and persecution coming. And interestingly, I didn't bring out the etymology of the word persecute, but when you check it out, you find this: persecute, verb, to oppress for the whole, persecute, to oppress for the holding of an opinion or adherence to a particular creed or mode of worship. And we hold to the... Alright, look at this, from Old French, persecutor, persecute, pursue, torment, open legal action. And that links into, so persecution and prosecution link to one another. There's differences, of course, but they link. Open legal action, that's what they're going to do. Some of us start with the 144,000 prophets. Some are alive, some are in the spirit world. Are going to be, those of them that are alive are going to go before judges. And the Lord's going to put the spirit on them to condemn them. Condemn Esau and his wicked kingdom. His backwards Isaiah 5:20 kingdom. And directly from Latin persecutus, past participle of persecui, to follow, pursue, hunt down, proceed against, prosecute, start a legal action from per, and then it tells you what per means: forward, hence through, sequi, follow, to follow. So forward, follow, through, follow through. Persecuted, persecuting. It's related to persecute. So prosecution, persecuting, from Old French, persecute, pursue, torment, open legal action. You check out the definition for prosecute. Institute or conduct with legal proceedings against a person or organizations. Yeah, and that's gonna happen to members of the elect. Okay. In this, those of us in this truth, that sort of stuff is going to happen to us. Lord Yahushua told us, and we cannot be offended in prophecy. Alright? So, I'm going to play this video at 2.5 speed. No, at 1.25 speed. Playback speed is 1.25. Here we go.
Cases surged across the UK, studying some misinformation from COVID deniers and anti-vaxxers.
This was the scene outside St Thomas's Hospital in London on New Year's Eve. Remember, this is where the Prime Minister himself was treated for COVID early last year. The protesters were shouting COVID is a hoax. The Labour leader, Sir Keir Starmer, said on this programme he would support emergency legislation to tackle anti-vax misinformation online. Spain, meanwhile, is setting up a register to track those who refuse to take the vaccine.
So should those who spread anti-vax misinformation be prosecuted? Joining us to discuss this is Professor Robert Winston, who received his vaccination today and believes we should focus on educating anti-vaxxers. Broadcaster and Childline founder Dame Esther Ransom, who's already had her vaccine and says those who spread misinformation should be prosecuted. And Noreen Khan, a community leader who's spreading the pro-vaccine message in Bradford, where anti-vax beliefs are strong. So, stellar panel. Morning to all of you. Professor Winston, so you're having your vaccination today. First of all, how do you feel about having the jab?
We're very pleased because, of course, it's protection against a serious infection, which is killing a lot of people.
And the second point is...
That college, I would say stuff, but, you know...
what we do about people...
That university, should I say, but... Whatever. I'll keep going. This one is pushing the jab in her community. This one is a sellout professor. They're all sellouts anyway. And who cares? It's only about the Israelites. the Lord only cares about Israel, and even so, he hath only care for his elect. Okay, scriptures tell us that.
Propagating anti-vaccination stuff, particularly online. I mentioned one earlier who's a reality TV star with 1 million followers on Twitter, saying she thinks the whole thing is just massively exaggerated, shouldn't have the vaccine and so on. What do we do with people that have that kind of influence?
There are a whole range of things you can do, of course, which don't involve prosecution. I'm not sure that prosecution using the law in this kind of way would be helpful, and certainly prosecuting people who refuse to have a vaccination would be unethical because, of course, and actually dangerous too, because, of course, there's always a risk that somebody might get an adverse result, and that would be catastrophic publicity for what is a very important vaccine. All of us in the country are vaccinated for all sorts of diseases all the time, and all those people standing outside St. Thomas's have been vaccinated for measles, they've been vaccinated also, of course, for smallpox and a number of other very serious killer diseases. And I think what we need to be much more aware of is better information and better education. Unfortunately, what they really are showing is a massive mistrust of government, and that's because the government has consistently produced messages rather than actually having a proper conversation with the public.
What about you have somebody who's got a big following, who may be a high-profile journalist or something, who is posting deliberately false information about, say, vaccination for coronavirus? Should there be, as Keir Starmer was suggesting, legislation specifically to deal with people who have a large influence, who are deliberately posting false information?
The prosecution must be against the people who publish the information, which is not the same necessarily to people who post it. And I think there needs to be much better control of social media. Unfortunately, we now live in the day of the message, which is sort of 3 words rather than proper information and proper explanation. And this actually essentially is a failure of our society now to debate. We don't debate any longer. We listen to messages, and so we induce anger, we induce all sorts of adverse responses. I'm pretty sure that if I went round and talked to some of those people in that crowd outside St. Thomas's, they would get the vaccine afterwards.
Yes, I'm absolutely sure that they need proper medical information. Noreen Khan, what is the problem in your community where you're going to have to persuade people, exactly like Professor Winston says, that it is essential to get the vaccine? Why are people anti-vax there?
Absolutely. Good morning, Susanna. The anti-vax, I think we've got to start to understand where it's stemming from. And a lot of this is stemming from frustrations. And a lot of these communities, if you're going to refer to BAME communities or disadvantaged communities, it's citing from its rhetoric of being anti-vax. It's merely the neglect of public health and government and communities who have been pushed aside. It's ultimately socio-economic inequalities that has created this mindset. I am pro-vax. I cannot wait till myself and my family get the call for the vaccine. But those who are currently anti-vax, it's a belief system. And that has stemmed from mixed messages, just like Professor was saying just now. And I think these mixed messages are causing multiple confusions, and then the misconceptions and the myths are deriving from this. And we have to get to the source of where this information is coming. It's certainly not the celebrities who are just reposting or retweeting. Where is this coming from in the first place? And we are seeing it daily. There are different messages coming from leadership at the moment. There is no synergy.
I don't think there's any divergence in messaging from leadership over the vaccine, though.
There is the confusion on the ground, Susanna, with all due respect, is that like for example, the first vaccine, the Pfizer, and it was supposed to be the second dose, and now that goalpost has changed. Once you start to change goalposts at that level, when you're starting to get people's mindsets coming round to the idea, and you change it again, they're going to say, whoa, red flag alert here. And then this is what's happening consistently. Education is the key. Our COVID Lead program that we've created is to target exactly those anti-vaxxers through education. We've got young people from Bradford who are predominantly clinical sciences and pharmaceutical students who are upskilling themselves with intelligence using medical professionals from the local area who are then going to go out and have those COVID conversations with communities who are currently anti-vax. And we're never going to change everyone's mindset, Piers. I agree with that.
I agree with that. I think there are multiple strands to this debate. But Dame Esther, I think that my particular problem, and I think it's one that Keir Starmer touched on, is I don't want to prosecute people who don't want to have a vaccination. We're not that kind of country. However, I can see the really damaging influence of high-profile people propagating completely false information about the safety of these vaccinations and being believed and retweeted and so on. And there may be a case for those people in that particular instance that there should be some form of regulatory interference with them to stop them doing this, because the platforms, sadly, like Twitter, Facebook, and so on, we know are too lax at this at the moment, and it will cost lives.
I don't know how it's exactly worded.
Yes, I better come clean with you, Piers. I do use you as a bit of a confessional, as you know, and I discovered yesterday that I'm
going to read Wisdom of Solomon 3:9 anyway. They that put their trust in him, in who Yahweh Hashem Yahshua shall understand the truth, and those ultimately the elect, the chosen Israelites, and such as be faithful in love. Love is the keeping of the commandments. Love thy neighbor as thyself. You show love. Love is the keeping of the Lord. So to show you love your neighbor, you wouldn't commit adultery with his wife, cheat on him with his. You wouldn't have his wife cheat on him with you. You wouldn't teach him something false. You'd rebuke him when he's going off. You wouldn't tell him to worship another god, because we know the gods of the nations are idols. You wouldn't be covetous, want what he wants, what he has, greed of grain for what he has, and so on. Lord Yahushua said, if you love me, keep my commandments, shall abide with him. For grace and mercy is to his saints. The saints are the Israelites, and the saints of the Most High are the 144,000 and the great multitude of believers, the elect. And he hath care for his elect. He hath care for his chosen Israelite. Elect in the Greek, electos. Electos means chosen. So I'm going to go back.
A great-grandfather was a pioneer anti-vaxxer.
Really?
I was talking to my sister about him because he also was an anti-germer. He didn't believe in germs. And she said, well, he was a great anti-vaxxer, you know, and he tried to stop people in New York getting the smallpox vaccination. So I got that off my chest. Great-grandfather, you were wrong. Would I want you to be prosecuted? Well, here's the thing. When I broke the law, you see, it is a confessional for me. And I drove at 39 miles an hour in a 30-mile-an-hour district. I was told that I could escape being fined and having points on my license if I went on a speed awareness course. And it was really good. I had to watch a video which explained the real danger of even going 5 miles over the speed limit. And it convinced me, and it changed my behavior. Now, the difficulty is, the science is complicated. You do have to understand why we've eradicated smallpox, how we've done wonderful work to eradicate polio, which was a plague that affected children in my youth. People really need to understand it. And it's not just a conversation. I couldn't be a greater admirer of Lord Winston if I tried, but I think if you went out on the pavement and started to talk to those young people who were somehow convinced in their heads that it was all a government conspiracy, I think the fumes in...
Conspiracy is basically just is a plot. It's basically a plot. Basically just means plot. Okay? Theory is something that can be proven or unproven. Some of these have come true, just saying.
Their brains would not be dissipated by logic. I do think you have to...
I don't see anyone on Twitter ever change their mind about this kind of thing. In fact, if anything, I see them get more and more entrenched because they're living in echo chambers. They only follow the people that basically endorse what they're believing.
Alright, I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully this video was edifying. Till next time, Shalom.